And we're live. I love that when I'm live, it gives me lots of errors. That is my favorite thing.
Makes you that warm, fuzzy feeling.
It's like, this all broke. And I'm like, fantastic. We'll figure that out later because now we're live. So, yay. So if I'm not streaming anywhere, no one will know. And you can all forgive me because I broke it. How are you, Debbie?
I'm doing really well. How are you? It's Charissa, right?
It's Charissa. But yeah,
Charissa.
I have people
Okay.
who've worked with me for like 20 years and like my coworkers still, I mean, I've only been at my job 2.5 years. They still pronounce it wrong and I don't correct anybody because it's not worth it. It's just not worth it.
Well, I have the same with my last name. So it's been
And I didn't know
mispronounced.
that until you said it in like some kind of podcast or something. And I was like, oh, it's Kevin.
Yeah, long E. And I don't know, somewhere along the line when people came from Ireland at the docks in Philadelphia, they wrote it as Kevin, but we've always pronounced it as Kevin all the way back, as far as I know.
Was it spelled like that back in the old country?
I don't know. I don't, it's funny because I have the ship's records for my great grandmother who came over before the turn of the last century. But her name, she wasn't married. It was Murray, which
Murray.
is much easier to say and spell.
I think
the Stevens have been here longer.
it would have been frightening if Charissa would have come over on a boat because it would just be like, so what would it be? Sherry? I guess it'd be Sherry.
Yeah, who knows? They'd Americanized it. Yeah.
Yeah, because I would have had an accent, and so I would
Yeah,
have said it and they would have been like, we have no idea.
whatever.
Well, welcome anyone who's joining us. Debby and I are just having a chat.
Entomology of names.
We were here to talk about a book, but forget that. No, just kidding. So my name is Charissa Costa, and I am the founder at Charm City Readers, which obviously is a Facebook group and reading community. I love, by the way, reading community was your word and your book, and I was like, yeah, that's what we are.
You are a reading community.
We're not really a book. I mean, we're a book club, but we're more of a reading community,
Yeah.
and I'm sure that's one of these tabs. So we're here tonight to talk with Debbie Kevin about this book. When it comes to you, it doesn't have the tabs. I added those. Those are mine. But her book, Shelf Life, which is a field guide to long-term author success. And I know this isn't your only book, though, right? This is the latest.
This is the latest. Yeah, I've had several anthologies, and then I wrote a little book called You've Written Your Book, Now What?
Is that a precursor to this?
It kind of was. It was one of those books that I'm like, I have a trilogy in mind. You want to write a book, now what? You've written a book, now what? You've published your book, now what? And that book, I planned this big release, and then my father passed away in 2020, and we had, of course, had a pandemic. So I'm like, I'm just getting it out. So it's much smaller than I would like. It's in the process of being redone, but yeah.
Redone. Oh, so you're going to like rebrand and rewrite and edit.
Make it bigger. Yeah.
That's one of the most fascinating things that I find about publishing. And of course, that's what we're going to talk about tonight. But like Chris Fates she published one version of her book, and by the time the second version came around, she changed it. I mean, I don't know what she changed, but you can.
Yeah, and that's really, in order to get a new ISBN, and you have to change a certain percentage of the content. And so the content of that particular book, 14 Stones, which is what we're talking about, wasn't changed, but we added the maps actually drawn by my wonderful son, and we changed the cover, and the layout was very different. And so there were some key elements. And then of course, adding, information about her forthcoming book was new, because I knew that was coming, and
which I've read. But we're not going to spend your hour talking.
I know. It's so good.
It is so good. Okay, but we're here to talk about you. And before we talk about the book, I want to do a lightning round. I mean, we've already been talking now for 20 minutes through a couple tech crises, but why not? Sure. Let's get to know you. So these are sort of kind of random.
Okay.
What's your favorite color?
Green.
I knew it. Can I tell you, when I was practicing earlier today, because I do, I was like, it's going to be green. That's so
We're
funny.
connected, you and I.
It's funny because you use blue in Storyteller, your podcast. So I could have
Well,
guessed blue.
blue is also one of my favorite
Oh,
colors.
second
So,
color.
yeah.
Okay. What's your favorite music genre?
Oh,
What's it?
that is so hard because I love all music, except I'm not a huge fan of rap. There's some rap I like, and I'm
Mhm.
not a huge fan of like old time country, but I really love pop. I love to sing along and I love a really good lyric.
Yes.
Surprising.
I cannot work and listen to anything with lyrics because I will start typing the lyrics. Like, so we clearly have similar problems. Okay. Favorite travel destination, because I feel you've traveled a lot lately, or is that just my like?
I travel a lot, period.
Yes.
I definitely was born with wanderlust. My dad was in the military and he was in the Navy and he traveled all over the world and sent back amazing photographs and brought back really cool things. And I just, from an early age, just watching, he went to the Parthenon and the Acropolis, and he went to the Philippines and Scotland, and I mean, all over the Middle East and Egypt. And so I have not consciously really wanted to visit all the places he's been because some of them I'm not as interested in, but I have an insane curiosity,
Yeah.
insane level of curiosity about places and people and cultures. And so I do love to travel. So my favorite destination, I will say the place I've gone the most is London.
Wow. Okay. So that was probably your favorite because you keep going back.
I love it because I have very dear friends who live there, and
That helps.
it's very walkable, and we usually end up walking everywhere. I haven't seen any of the other countryside in England. I've been to Scotland, I've been to Ireland, been to Switzerland and Holland and the Netherlands, Belgium, Lebanon,
Oh
Cyprus,
my gosh. Okay.
Italy.
Is there a place that you haven't gone that you want to go still?
Oh, so many.
Okay, we don't have time for this.
I'll tell you. I'll tell you. My husband's family, half of his mom's side of the family is first generation from Italy, and so I really do want to go and take him. He's never been. I would love to go
Wow.
back and really spend a great deal of time in Italy. And
Okay,
really
side conversation. The owners of the company I work for now are first generation Italians.
get out.
And so they're from the Naples area. So so let's just chat offline.
Yeah,
They
that's
go
where
back
his
every
family is from.
August because their town has like a festival.
Ooh,
Yeah, so we can totally chat, and then I can get like places, and you can
yes,
blow your dad's mind.
yes, yes, yes.
Okay, favorite author that's not yours, that's not a Highlander Press,
Yeah, okay, not a Highlander Press
that maybe
author.
you don't know. There we go. How about somebody you
Yeah,
don't
somebody
know?
that I don't know. I really enjoy um, Jojo Moyes.
Oh, you know what? I have so many of her books in my list, and I never make it to them. So you're gonna have to tell me which one is the one I absolutely have to read. Not right now,
Oh,
just
Me Before You.
okay, because I'm gonna need there's just too many on the TBR.
Yeah, yeah.
Favorite book genre?
Historical fiction.
Yeah, okay. See, I used to think that, and now I'm reading romance and fantasy, and I'm like, so maybe I don't know. I don't know myself. Do you prefer books or ebooks?
Books.
Every
Unless
single
I'm traveling, and then it has to be ebooks because I read too many.
yeah, because I know you have otherwise you can have all one in one little
Yeah.
compact package. Audiobooks, yes or no?
When my kids were small, we listened to audiobooks every single day.
Wow.
And we listened to a lot, and we did kind of a round robin. They each of my kids got to pick one, and then I would get to introduce. So I would introduce things like the Mixed Up Files of Miss Basil E. Frankenweiler and
Yes.
and Misty of the Chincoteague, and they would
Yes.
gnash their teeth. And we still use some of the language from those more classic books.
All
Yeah.
right, but no audiobooks now because
I
I'm
don't really
half.
know.
Yeah, I'm totally
Yeah.
half. And very important question. Debbie with a Y or IE? I mean, who decides
Oh,
that?
it's
Who decides?
why. Why? Because I like it.
Did you decide that or did your mom decide that?
No, so when I was growing up, Deborah was a very common name. Debbie, there were probably 10 Debbies in
Wow.
my elementary school. And I remember learning when I was about 10 that Debby with an IE was a nickname. And I'm like, well, does that mean I can change it? And the answer was yes. And so I did. And I've been Debby with a Y ever since.
It's so funny because I have a friend named Brandy and she's IE. And so I found myself typing like notes on my cards, spelling your name with an IE. I spell hers with a Y. So I'm going to like totally mess that up, but I'll say your name right. So
that's okay.
Okay. Okay. So obviously researching for our chat, I did a little like back history on you. How does someone from Pennsylvania who has degrees in elementary education and accounting start publishing us?
Well, to be fair, I did not finish my education degree. I did change my major, but
Okay.
I did get my CPA. I did practice in a couple of big 6 firms. I moved over to private corporation. Actually, we're both in Baltimore. I worked for BGE before there was Constellation, and then I worked for Constellation. And I got a 6 Sigma black belt. So I've always been really not strong with numbers, but I've always been really strong with patterns and language. So I was emancipated actually at 16, and I was in elementary education with a specialty in special ed. That was my kind of path. But at the time, all my friends who were graduating from college with teachers' degrees, they were working at Macy's. They could not get teaching jobs. There were so many teachers. And I wasn't in a position to not have a job when I came out of college. I was paying for it all myself. So I switched over to accounting, and it actually was my advisor was like, here's this accounting for non-majors class. Take it, and it just is a filler.
I would never take that class. I'm so good with spreadsheets and numbers, but no.
I love that it balanced. I'm a Libra, so I love things that balance, and it made sense to my brain. It's like, this is a job that I can always do.
Yep.
And and so I actually moved into auditing, and I'm really good at finding things. I have an intuitive sense. The fact that we can't fill our prescriptions more than 30 days before, it has to do with a fraud case that in my very first job right out of college, I worked for Deloitte & Touche in Rochester, New York, and I got put on the
Joanne.
Blue Cross and Blue Shield, right? We both worked for Deloitte, exactly. And I stumbled upon a fraud case of a pharmacy that was fraudulently refilling prescriptions, not for their patients, but to get paid by the insurance company. They literally weren't filling the prescriptions. And so that was my very first kind of gig out of college.
Isn't it interesting though, when you get to an age where like something happens and you're like, that affected my life personally, and that is the reason it is the way it is everywhere. Right? Like you have this, I mean, it's like random.
Yeah, it's totally bizarre. Yeah. And it was even more bizarre in that the whole reason I stumbled across it is when you get an audit, you have to Deloitte had this really cool algorithm. It would pull information and be like, go to, and then it would give you a kick out of a list. And I would scan the list, and you're just supposed to point. But I saw a name on a list of a woman that I randomly met, a woman who was bound in a wheelchair, randomly met when I was out hiking in Letchworth State Park in Western New York. And I met her husband. They loved my dogs. And I was chatting. He was the mayor of this little teeny tiny town. And her name showed up on my list. And she was the one. I'm like, wait a minute. She filled this prescription on this day, and this one the next. I was like, wait a minute. So it was totally random and totally, just happenstance that I stumbled upon. And that they had been doing it for like 15 years.
Oh my God. My friend Jason's watching, and he loves these like little intricacies of life. And he's like, wow, like this is what I'm not even going to tell about Jason. Jason, I'm sorry. I'm not going to talk about you because Debbie and I will never get to the book.
I know.
Like we're 20 minutes in.
Sorry. I'm a storyteller.
Okay. I know. All right. So give me, when I was writing my notes, I was like, are elevator pitches still a thing? I don't think they are. So I'm aging myself by even using the word elevator pitch, but give me your elevator pitch for Shelf Life. Like, who is it for and why is it different than other books like it?
Shelf life is for authors who have published their book. They've put it out there. Maybe they've had some pretty good success with their launch, but really there's kind of crickets. Nothing, like they're not even sure what to do next. And they either go into this very much like I call it my uh, Washington Square Park little guide, check it out, flipping open there, buy my book, as opposed to really thinking about where are my readers, who is this book really for, and how can I find them and build relationships with them.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So, but just for anyone who's watching, like I am also a marketer. I've spent 2.5 decades in product marketing, project marketing, classic marketing, like business development, which is like sort of my sweet spot. I love business development. But like this was really interesting for me because of course, almost every principle you had, I know, but I know it like when it comes to food or like cell phones, like, and so obviously I have a reading community, not a book club. I'm going to totally rebrand myself now. I can do that. I'm a marketer.
Yep, you can.
But I was coming at this from like so many levels because obviously the marketing brain in me at first was like very interested in how everything twists and turns and works in publishing. But like I am a writer too. And so I was thinking like if I ever publish, like, ooh, how would I do that? How would I use that? And then with Charm City Readers, I have so many author friends now. I want to help them. And
Sure.
so as I'm reading through topics, I'm like, oh, he's really good at that. And ooh, she could use more of that. And like, so, and then very last, I was reading it as a reader, like, oh, that's why authors do that. So it was
Oh,
interesting being in my head, maybe just for me, because I'm me, but like trying to like, I was grasping at everything, on so many different levels. And it was really hard for me to write notes, like, because there's so much to talk about. So I'm going to try.
okay. All right. I'm
And I'm
sure
going
you're
to
going
try
to be
not
successful.
to bounce around like crazy pants, but I mean, we've already done it. We're already 20 minutes in and we've talked about ancestry and, so who knows where this is going, Debbie? Who knows? So your book starts on basically 5 sections, right? So there's the basics, which is like classic marketing.
Right.
Author platforms, web, social, email, which I
Mhm.
want to talk about. I love how you say obtaining and using social proof. So
Mhm.
people love your book. How do you grab that, hold on to it, and then push it out to the world as an endorsement?
Yeah.
Book tours and events, very, very fascinating because that might be the section I know the least about.
Ooh.
And then all of that is nurturing readers, right? So like,
Mhm.
I'm flipping through cards because I've already jumped ahead. So there's a theme across the whole book, and you said it in your elevator pitches, knowing your readers.
Yeah.
And you talk about multiple ways to get to do that. What occurred to me, again, separating like my marketing head from like my reader,
Sure.
is in marketing solves problems. So there's this story from college, and I've been out of college a bit, but I remember it. That is about the detergent that you use, washing, not like the detergent that you wash clothes with.
Okay.
And women, because mostly women do laundry. Sorry, guys, I know you do them too, but mostly it's us. Women, even like 50, 70 years ago, washing laundry. They would take the cap and they would stick it on like a towel because it was like gross and disgusting and messy. And marketers said, oh, that's disgusting and messy. Let's solve that problem. And they solved that problem with the dripless lid that we now have on laundry detergent. And
Yeah.
the reason that I'm explaining that is marketing tends to say, what's the problem and how do I solve it? Authors and creatives, by their nature, are like the complete opposite. They have a story that needs to be told, art
Right.
that needs to be shown, a message, they want to get it out to the world because it's in them and it's just aching to get out with absolutely no tie or understanding of anyone even wanting it. Right? So it's honestly completely flip of
Yeah.
like, Yeah, which is, I guess, why the book is important, because they're coming at it from the opposite direction completely that a marketer would come at it.
Well, and there used to be back in the day, traditional publishing did market books that they licensed, right? But nowadays, that's not true. And I say to people, it doesn't really, I'm not tied to people publishing in one way or another. It's really what's in service to your bigger goals, whether
Mhm.
you self or independently publish, whether you really go for the traditional deal, or you're going with a hybrid publisher, and that's the whole Wild West. We could have a whole nother show just about that.
I
The,
explored that for a half a minute and panicked.
yeah, there's so many, but the common theme is nobody, just like nobody loves your child as much as you love your child, and it's impossible for nobody's going to love your book or be able to talk about your book the way that you can.
Yeah.
And so I'm an absolute introvert. I
Me
won a
too.
gold medal in introversion, right? So to think about, okay, this is a true story. I did my own book. I do book launches all the time for other
Right.
people. I love being behind the scenes. I'm like the little wizard, but then I do my own book and it's like launch day, exhausting. I'm exhausted. Why am I so exhausted? Oh, I just launched a book. And now it's like, now I got to do this stuff in my book for my own book.
You're like, damn it.
I know. It's like,
I think we're twins or something, because I am an introvert. I want to say severe introvert, but severe is a harsh word. And people are like, "Oh my God, no, you're not." And I'm like, "No, but I am." And they're
yeah,
like, "No, you're not." And I'm like, just because I'm chatty with people that I like and get along with and connect with does not make me an extrovert, people.
yeah.
And some of it's just turning it on. Like, I was in theater,
Mhm.
you know how to turn it on when you need to. But Debbie, I'm
Absolutely.
not turning it on with you. I truly like you.
Well, right back at you.
Okay, so back to the book.
Back to the book.
So a lot of it is reader-centric marketing. And God, the problem is, Debbie, is I could read the book to you, but you know the book. So you have understanding and catering to your reader to drive. I have a point. Understanding and catering to your ideal reader. What are the genres, themes, writing styles that attract your reader? Reader demographics, psychographics. I don't think anyone would even think about psychographics. And you go
Yeah.
into, explain what psychographics is for
Well,
everybody else.
so demographics are easy, right? It's gender, it's race, it's identity, ethnicity, where age,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. Demographics, psychographics are more subtle. So, it's best explained by, where do I shop? What are my values? What political party might I be aligned with? How do I show up? Because here's the thing, if you're writing romance, you might be writing to a mom who works full time and drives the kids on Saturdays to soccer, and she needs something that's easy to read, that takes her away from everyday life, super simple. How you're going to write to her is going to be very different than to a retired Marine who's reading, military fantasy, right? Very
Is that a thing?
different. Very,
Want to
very,
tell me
oh,
that's not a thing?
totally military fantasy. Absolutely.
Okay.
Oh, Amish romance is the
I've
number
heard of
one.
Amish romance, which I think is also very odd, but
Yes.
the military thing was new. Okay, keep
Yeah.
going.
Yeah. So I think it's really about understanding and drawing and not being afraid to say my reader is, I'll say for shelf life, the psychographics of mine, they're authors. That's number one. They've
Mhm.
written or published or want to publish a book. They don't understand the whole marketing sphere and they're overwhelmed. So that is really a psychographic. For me, it doesn't matter the gender. It doesn't matter the genre that they write in. They actually are curious and they want to learn and they want to understand whether they end up doing it themselves or not. So they have a curiosity and a willingness to try new things.
Yep. Yep.
Those are
Absolutely.
psychographics. Yeah.
Well, and then you talk about analyzing reader behavior, which, is so marketing, but very painful. I'm not going to get into that today. And then I love how you said creating an avatar based on all of those things.
Yeah.
So like avatar is such a,
cool word.
cool current word now. I mean, I don't know if the alpha generation is using avatar. No, they probably are, because that's my son. Yeah, he's using avatar.
Yeah, my son does too. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, yeah, even though he's 8. But so creating an avatar of your user, but again, all of this happens after the book is written. So I've written.
It can, yes.
Or
Or
so it could happen before.
So it depends upon the book. So most of the time, if it's a novel, if it's fiction, it happens after.
Right.
If it's nonfiction, it often happens before. Who is this book for?
For you. So you had all this figured out before you. Of course you did. Because it's writers and people that need marketing. Never mind.
Well, I do have an advantage in that I work with a lot of authors and I hear a lot of the same questions.
Yeah. Yeah. So you just kept like a tab on the side, right?
I'm
You're like, answer this in the book.
Yeah.
Get paid to answer this question.
Yeah, I'm not going to Disney World on my royalties, I'll tell you.
I don't think anyone can go to Disney World anymore, Debbie. AJ has asked. I'm like, I can't afford it, man. I don't even know.
Yeah.
Okay, so all these things, though, lead to connecting to your reader, right? So tailoring content, building relationships, and then you talk about reader feedback loops. Can you explain that to people? Because it seems like a very technical term.
Yeah, so a reader feedback loop is giving them a way to get back to you. So I'll give you an example. When you publish a book and they buy a book online or at a bookstore, you don't know who bought your book. So the idea is you want to encourage them to visit your website, to learn more about you, to follow you on socials, and then be driving them always to your email list where you can then nurture them, sign up and give me like, what's one character that you really loved in my book? And send me your answer, and you could be in a thing to win a drawing, for my favorite cup of tea or or a cup of tea with me. So you're driving that behavior and you're letting them tell you what they liked. And with nonfiction, a lot of that comes from then, speaking or talking to your ideal clients, because oftentimes they're the same people, and then getting them onto your email list so that you can then nurture them and tell them what you've got going on. And it's not all about necessarily writing. My professor at Western, Kevin J. Anderson, who writes, he writes a lot of the Dune environment. He is a big fantasy writer. He writes Dan Shamble Zombie Detective series, which is hilarious.
I wouldn't even know where to go with that. Zombie detective.
It's hilarious. It's hilarious. I will
take your rec.
Yeah. He does a really good job on social media. He always is taking pictures of his cats. He's taken pictures of his desk. He's taken pictures of him out hiking. He really, it's building that, because people don't really care. They may love your book, but they want to know who you are and why you wrote it. So for introverts, that's really like, I don't know, I want to be behind the screen here, over here doing my thing. And so, we talked earlier about Chris Fates and her 14 Stones. She is an incredibly gifted pianist.
Oh, yeah. Every day she's posting now. I love it. I got to make a request.
I love that she does that, because it's bringing both sides of her together in a very unique way. Mm-hmm. She's letting people see. She's letting people see her cat. She's letting people see, the big key in the background. And, she's not really letting them see her on the piano, but just her hands, right?
Right. No, but Chris, I'm sorry to talk about you. My son and I were watching, and I was like, watch your hands, AJ, watch your hands. And they're like, from the side though. And then floating. She has that thing that pianists do, what I'm talking about, this thing. Yes. Yeah. Oh.
And if you were watching her, she'd be doing this.
Yes.
Because I've seen her.
So you can see her in the.
Yeah, she's right. Yeah, she feels the music.
Yeah.
Yeah, she taught my son. That's how I met her. She taught my son piano.
Well, it's interesting because this whole feedback reader loop, like, I'm not going to name any names of anyone who may or may not be doing it well, but like Chris, obviously her social presence is really growing. And like you said, becoming more dynamic.
Yeah.
I don't know. You probably know Jafe Danbury. He's in the group. The
Yeah.
man is fierce with memes. I've never seen an author be able to meme so many things for his 4 books, but like Meme Central and his readers,
That's
of course, which I'm
fun.
one of them, they ate it up.
Yeah. You start to look for it. And
Yeah.
that's what you want. You want people to want to know you. And so they'll be already ready and primed for your next publication.
Yeah.
You can tease people. You can say, I really struggled with this. I'm going to read a section to you. What do you think?
Okay, that's my favorite. I love like unpublished stuff. We can get to that later though if we have
Yeah.
time. Ooh, I love it. Author platforms. So
Mm.
obviously authors need a website, but I feel like it's not as complex as it used to be. Like it's simpler,
Yeah.
right?
Well, it used to be that you'd have, websites themselves have changed because our attention spans are much shorter than they used to be, right? And people don't stay on web pages as long. So it's actually better to have a short landing page, all one page, and then you can have links that take them to different sections. You really need your latest book. You need a really compelling, what's on the back of the book cover can go on the description, links to buy the book, about you. And then, if you have events or, where you're going to appear or places you have spoken, you can also embed like your social media into that so that your website's getting, constant hits from your Instagram or something. There's a lot of ways to simplify. Now, I'll tell you we had an author who writes biographies. And we were publishing his 5th biography. And I'm like, okay, what's your website? I don't have a website. I'm like, you have to have a website. Like, you have 5 books and you're in the middle of writing a 6th. You absolutely need a website.
Yeah.
And he has all of his eggs on a Facebook group basket. And that to me is really risky because we have no control over Facebook could go away tomorrow.
Right. And then it's all gone.
The algorithm changes all the time. We don't, it's like riding a bucking bronco, trying to stay abreast of the changes. And so my advice to him was start getting people over to your website and start getting them on an email list. And then just once a month, send something out. Here's where I was. Take a picture of, he has a ton of really cool, memorabilia. I'm like,
yeah,
just toss some of that up every once in a while. These guys are going to, ask them a question, and get them chatting with you.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, you mentioned social media because so again, I'm in marketing, so I can't avoid it. I love that everyone's going to have like a boycott or whatever. I can't do it. Not happening. This is my livelihood. But
Yeah.
so social media, I was like going through it. I mean, we have Bookstagram now. We have Book Talk. We Charm City Readers, we're on Facebook because Facebook, although a lot of people prefer Instagram and TikTok now, Facebook is more conducive to like conversation.
Yeah.
So it was really the right place for me. But when I was reading your book, I was like, I went back and looked like when was this submitted for publishing? Like when did you stop writing? Because I was like, no Threads, no Blue Sky. Like,
yeah, Threads was really new. Blue Sky wasn't out yet.
Nope.
Yeah.
And it's, like you could have an addendum today and you just launched the book.
Oh, there's so many more too. I mean, I was just reading earlier today about some new platforms that are out there. And it's like, holy heck. Yeah.
Yeah. And how do you choose? And this isn't just for you, but like, how do you choose which? Like, because I work for a restaurant and we are on a lot of them, but we don't do all of them well because there are 2 of us.
Like, this is an easy answer.
Yeah.
Where are your customers?
Yeah.
Where do your readers hang out?
Instagram and TikTok. We need to do a better job on TikTok, but I just sort of want to die.
Well, TikTok. So I actually did a challenge on TikTok and it was the one that grew the fastest. It wasn't a challenge that somebody else had. I'm like, I'm just going to post every day for a period of time on TikTok.
Yeah.
And just little videos, little 2-minute videos, pictures, whatever. I grew that audience that I still have, and I haven't really been posting there because I didn't know if it was going to stick around. I'm like, I'm not going to invest the time, right? But I mean, a lot of views and a lot of people still like the videos and save them.
Wow.
And so it doesn't have to be hard. And I wasn't doing any of the funky stuff. I'm like, literally, hey, it's me. And I'm going to talk to you today about whether you need an ISBN or not. You know?
Right. Yeah.
No?
But I mean, there's an audience for that, right? People
Yeah.
are like, ISB what?
Yeah, exactly. Or why shouldn't I just take the free one? Yeah.
I want to talk about that later. Okay. Anyway,
Okay.
so many places to go. So I wanted email lists and newsletters. You have said it a number of times. By the way, I subscribed to yours today.
Thank you.
And a number of others. But like, so again, food marketing hat.
Yeah.
We have a blog on our website. I don't know if anyone reads it. It's mostly for SEO. Like,
Yeah.
and again, I have an 8-year-old, so this might be like me in my stage of life. I can't keep up with newsletters. I can't. And so you spent so much in the book talking about it. And I was like, oh God, this is real. Like, me as a person has a hard time finding time, but this is something that works really well for authors. And I'm just completely disconnected to it.
Well, yes. And I think again, I think that simple and consistent are the ways to go. It doesn't have to be long. I actually took my newsletter, my book chat newsletter, not my Substack blog,
Yep.
was so long. I had to split it into twice a month. And it's still, I think, really long, but it's like one week is, I talk about writing tips and publishing tips and editing tips and marketing to all the tips. And then I talk more about publishing news that you can use, like what's going on in the publishing industry.
Oh God, I need to be getting this one.
Yeah, I'll hook you up. That one is much longer. And it was funny because I'm like, does anybody, I have actually a very high open rate on my newsletter.
That's amazing.
Like I want to say 37%.
Wow.
Which is, for those of you who don't know, if you've got a 23% open rate, you are kicking butt.
Right.
So anything over that is gravy. And I can see who's opening it. I can see what they're clicking through. And that's really, again, that gives you that feedback loop. Like, what's really resonating with them? It's funny, the things that resonate aren't necessarily related directly to our work.
Mm-hmm.
When I posted, I was on my one of my TikToks is the biggest one. I was sitting by a fire pit that wasn't even lit. It was the middle of the day. I'm on vacation and I'm like, the lighting is terrible. I don't even know what I was talking about. So many people watched that because it was like, I wasn't in my office. I wasn't in my regular location.
Yeah. And
I'm like, I can do this anywhere.
Well, and that's the thing about TikTok is they love authenticity, right?
Yeah.
So if it's too staged, you get dismissed.
Yeah.
You get dismissed. Now go ahead.
I was going to say, and authors, you want to be authentic. People want to know who you are. Think about if you've ever met an author, right? It's like, you're an author, right?
And they're normal people.
They're normal people. But there's a cachet to it. Yeah. And they want to know, like, how did you do it? And why did you do it? What was they want to know all of the things that we take for granted.
I love it. Okay. You talk about networking with other authors. And this piqued my curiosity because, of course, like Charm City Readers is a place where some of our authors come together and support each other. And then Ryan Hale, who's in the group, he has another Facebook page that's all creatives, and then they share and they support each other. Is that the way it's done? Or is this like are there like clubs that we are not invited to that authors get to join? Because
I think there's a lot of different ways. So certainly Charm City Readers and the kind of community that you were just talking about where people come together, but there are writing organizations where they have writers groups. There are writer conferences, which is networking because you're connecting with other people and you're being inspired and you're learning. So like for us, there's like the Maryland Writers Association. There's the Eastern Shore Writers Association. There's all different kinds of writers groups that are out there. And like I created a community much like you did, but it's all authors. We have an author, I call it my author academy, and all of the people that we publish
get into it.
go into it. And so we talk about marketing topics, and we have guest speakers, and we talk about, intellectual property, and, what does it mean to have a literary estate? And we have all those conversations, and people get to know each other and support each other in that community.
It's awesome. You talk about creating custom content, which of course we've kind of already reviewed, engaging with your audience. There's a whole section about engaging with your audience, utilizing SEO. Look, I'm a marketer and I find that painful. Like, I was reading that. This is not my favorite chapter. But all of that helps with that feedback loop.
Yeah.
My favorite was the review section.
Oh, really? Okay.
Well, because two reasons. One, I personally understand the value of reviews and endorsements and blurbs, and I've been getting to do some, which then makes you more invested in it. But as a marketer, like for instance, again, I work for a restaurant. If we say, hey, enter to win an $8 million gift card by just posting a picture of your cat, nobody does it. And like getting people to write reviews for books they love in any place other than like telling you or their own profile is so hard.
Do you know why?
Please, because I'm like, I want to help here. I have had a couple contests on CCR, and I'm like, for the love of God, people, just write 2 sentences.
I think so. There's a couple of things. I think number one, a lot of people have this belief that they're not writers. And if they are writing a review and it's posted, and they don't want it to sound or look bad. And so my number one tip, if somebody says to you, they love your book, just say, can I just jot that down and send that to you in an email? And like, you then as the writer can, spruce it up. They get to decide. You can send them a link, make it a no-brainer. And a lot of it is time. Like, I know for me, I'm like, I go through stages where I'm like, I have a stack of books. I won't donate them until I write reviews. And it's like, that's starting to teeter, and it's starting to scare me. I really need to get, and I take notes on all of the books that I read so that I can do a really good review.
I don't write great reviews for every book I read, but now I do I rate every book I read. I usually 80% of the time review somehow. And if it's one of our authors, one of our people, like your authors or someone that's a friend of mine, then I go all in and I give a good, really thorough, lots of sentences, good vocabulary.
That's awesome.
But all you have to really do is just say like, I loved the characters. The setting was great because I used to live in Arizona, and I'd read anything by this author. And that's like perfect.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a lot. And reviews actually really do matter in the longevity of it. And here's something that was interesting when I was researching YA romance, because again, we published 3 by one author. Avery Bolts. Yeah.
I haven't read her yet. I got to read her.
Shout out. The Gray Matter in particular, really phenomenal. She just got a shout out in the Penn Stater magazine, which is unheard of. So that was really exciting.
Congrats, Avery.
Avery. She's on spring break someplace right now. What was I going to say?
I don't remember. You're talking about reviews. I have stats I can go to if you want to.
YA romance. That was it. So we always do before we publish a book, I do a comparable book research. So I research other books in the same genre, at least 10. And sorry, there's a plane flying overhead.
That's right.
And so we do it for pricing. I look at, the categories. We look at, how well did it do? Is a New York Times bestseller? Like, where are they? And, if I see a book with several thousand reviews, I'm like, dang, that's good. Yeah. YA romance, the lowest number, and all 10 had at least this many, was 250,000 reviews. It's like, well, so those who read YA romance really do a great job of reviewing.
And what does that tell you? I'm going to give you a clue. They're not young adults.
Exactly.
Because young adults aren't going to take the time to write a decent review. Not all of you. But I've raised a teenager. I was there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you have, I'm not going to go through all my stats because again, how are we 50 minutes in? I mean, like, which cards do I talk about? But you have books with over 150 reviews experience 4 times the sales.
Yeah.
And then on Goodreads, which I like, I tried Storygraph, man, I just can't. It
Yeah.
hurts me. But on Goodreads, books with more than 1,000 reviews or ratings are 97% more likely to be included in recommendation lists. So
Yeah.
like when you search best books for Black History Month,
Yeah.
how did they end up on a list?
Get a
Reviews.
lot of reviews. Yeah. Reviews actually are the bread and butter. And it's what really ultimately helps something have a really good shelf life. And so get in the habit of asking people to, it's great to hear them verbally. And it's also really great to get people to actually do reviews. So how can you make it easy?
Mm-hmm. Side conversation for later. When I was reading your book, I got online and went through the authors of yours that I've read. And I was like, 8 reviews, so many. And I was like, okay, now what? I was like, what can I do to get them more reviews? Because I know more people have read the book than that.
Yeah.
So there's got to be a strategy that we can talk of offline that is some sort of brilliant thing that no one's thought of.
Yeah. I was doing little free library, dropping them off with a sticker inside saying, if you love this book, leave a review here, and then you'll be entered. Take a picture of where you the library, and we'll see how that works. I'm still driving around with books and sticking them in.
There are like 10 of those within like 2 miles of my house.
Yeah.
My son and I were walking, and there's one right around the corner. I was like, another one? People just stick them in their yards.
Yeah.
I didn't see a section on author interviews, Debbie.
Well, maybe in the second edition.
I was like, where's the section on author interviews? Okay, so book clubs and book tours. This, right? Again, my whole career has not been in books. I was recently hanging out with Julie Brinkley. She invited me over for an author meet and greet. So I met Mary Kendall. And we spent half the time talking about book tours. And it was so fat. Like, I'm asking questions. The other people there are asking questions. Because book tours used to be literally like a concert tour, right? City to city. But now so much of it is online.
Yeah.
And now there's virtual book tours with book influencers. And I just found that whole process fascinating.
Yeah, I'm not as hip with the influencers.
Julia's. Well, we should get you and Julia together.
I would love to. I'm always looking to learn and grow, so that would be
she might be good on your storyteller.
I would love that. Yeah,
she's an influencer. Okay, keep going.
Yeah. Anyway, so it's really about defining where you want to go, like and how much you want to do, and it doesn't always have to be, city to city, living out of a suitcase. It can be, some of it can be virtual. So say you're writing a middle grade book. You can have a way for book. In fact, most authors don't do in-person visits anymore. It's so much easier with technology. They can see more students. So you could do it that way. Or if you're going to have a book event, like we have a book event actually here in Baltimore at Snug Books on April 5th with Connie Jo Miller is coming. She's coming up to Pennsylvania for another event, and she's going to stop at Snug Books that Saturday morning for a children's story hour. And so it's like, yeah, you should. He would love her Words of Whimsy trilogy. So that's sort of like, where are you going? And then how can you, like, you're going on vacation. I go to Colorado all the time. There's a great bookstore in Crested Butte, Colorado, that is just, he's a great guy. It's a family-owned bookstore. I'm going to be in town. Can I do a little book event? And if he can, he will.
That's amazing. I had this idea, and I have it's either a gift or a problem that, like, I brainstorm without anyone asking me to brainstorm. Like, I'm like, what if? But I was like, is there like a network of book clubs in Baltimore that specifically support Baltimore authors? And if there's not, can we make one? And then what would that look like?
Oh, I'm digging this. I love that your brain does that. I think that is really terrifying.
Cool. Yeah, but I was like, what if we had like 5 to 10
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we had some kind of a circuit. I don't know.
Rotational thing. Yeah, that would be really cool. We should put that call out there. Who in Baltimore, the Baltimore area, is in a book club?
Yeah. Okay. Just a thought. I wrote
Yeah.
it down. So it occurs to me after reading the whole book, because we can't go into everything. We're at 53 minutes. That there's one major marketing medium that publishing either doesn't use or it doesn't use it enough for you to address it.
Okay.
And I was like, of course, then I was like, well, of course not. And then I thought, but what if?
Okay.
Ready?
I'm
Text
ready.
marketing.
Text.
So like, you love a shop or, like my restaurant, and we're like, don't forget, it's blah, blah Thursdays, and you get a text. And I was like, well, how would that work for books? Right. And then I thought, well, could it work for books?
Yeah. So if you think about it, there are programs you can have set up that if you want to follow my book tour.
Right.
You could, text to this message, and then authors could get subscriptions to that for sure. And then have it say, hey, I'm going to be in your town in 3 weeks.
Right.
Here's where you get the list or the link. Or if you want me to be in your town, do these.
Fill out this. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it might be cost prohibitive, like in the short term, but it just occurred to me. I was like, why does not like Penguin Random House use this? Like, it's March. Here's your link to our top books.
Or here's what
we're going to start doing it next year.
Yeah.
We're going to start doing it next year, and it'll be mine.
Hashtag you got the trademark.
Right? I'm gonna get online and copyright this or trademark it or whatever. Yeah. No, but it was like my immediate thought was, of course they couldn't use it. Then I was like, well, why not? Why not? Why couldn't they use it?
They could.
Okay. Are you ready for a surprise? Because we're nearing an hour here.
Oh my gosh, sure.
So this is going to be clunky because, as you know, I had some technical difficulties and I wanted to set it up ahead of time, and then I was afraid it would play. So I'm going to put us over here. Okay. We're still on. I got to pull it up. It's just a little thing.
Just a little thing.
Just a little thing. All right, here we go.
Hi, this is John Maley. I would say that from developmental editing to being a promoter to being a motivational coach, I have nothing but gratitude for Deborah Kevin. Keep up the great work, Debbie. You rock. Thanks.
Imagine going through the entire publishing process and still being in love with your publisher. That's how I feel about Debbie. Amazing.
Hi, Debbie. I just wanted to hop on here today to say thank you. Thank you for helping me put the knowing out into the world. I could not have done this without you. Your weeks of guidance, all the hand-holding sessions, and the humor really kept me going. Thank you for everything you do for us authors.
Hey, Debbie. I just wanted to say thank you so much for all of your friendship over these many years and for believing in me and my work, giving 14 Stones a renaissance, and for your support of my new novel, Line Magic. You are amazing. Thank you for all you do.
That's it. Just a little thank you from your people.
My heart is overflowing and I'm like on the verge of bursting into tears right now.
No, don't cry. I mean, you can cry. That makes for
it's
great
gratitude.
television.
It's gratitude, right? Total gratitude. I say this and I truly mean this. Highlander Press attracts the most yummy authors. And
They're so good. And I've only tasted a little bit of like your people. Just keep sending me books to read, Debbie. Keep sending me books to read. But I'm not going to lie. I also thought that you could probably use that for promotional purposes.
I would love that. Thank you.
Because I was like, let me edit it in such a way that she could use it to advocate for Highlander Press and herself.
You are such a gift to me and to all the people in your readers community.
I just believe that kindness and human connection is everything. And I'm pretty sure you do too, because did I hear you quote Brene Brown earlier? You said something and I don't remember what it is. And it was very Brene Brownie.
I don't know that I quoted her, but it's very possible.
Yeah.
I have been told by many people that I am the Brene Brown of their publishing world.
Humans are wired for connection.
Yeah.
Right?
And being authentic and showing up and being willing to take risks, and showing being wholehearted. I think that those are her things. And I love her.
All of it.
And I love her audiobooks in particular. So
I do too. Well, see, you just said audiobooks. You do read audiobooks. Full
some
circle.
of those, yeah. But I listen to her over and over. Yeah.
All right. I have your review. I don't think I've shared the review that I'm going to post tonight for you. So I'm going to, I made it a little fun because, nonfiction reviews can be flat.
I'm all about the quirk.
Okay. So hopefully you think it's fun. Okay. Here it comes because, oh, look, it worked.
Ooh.
As a marketer for 25 years, I knew that I knew what I knew, but I didn't know all of this. Kevin's Shelf Life outlines both classic and creative marketing tactics and makes them work for authors in a world where everything and everyone is competing for the same attention. Revisit the basics and improve what you've already accomplished with her ninja tips, and then identify missing strategies to enhance your outreach, engagement, and ultimately your sales. Shelf Life provides clear recommendations, tangible resources and links, and expert guidance for every writer, author, and marketer out there. And readers and influencers will find valuable advice for their reviews and discussions. Approachable, concise, and clear, Shelf Life is a must-read for every writer.
Thank you so much. That is so generous.
Well, and I'll post it wherever you want me to post it. I usually do Goodreads and Amazon, but if there's anywhere else like BookBub or.
Yeah, no, those are the two. The two. Yeah.
I was having a very brief conversation with an author today that I don't think and I won't name drop her, but I said I think marketing is a little bit of a challenge for her, and I said I don't know if you saw who I'm talking to tonight. I said, but you might want to, and she could be on, I don't know, right? But I was like, you might want to tune in or watch it later. I said, and pick up the book. I said, because this is exactly like the tools you need. Like, it can't just be me. It can't just be her. There are all these tools in this path, and she's very shy, and she's more of an introvert than you and I are. Yeah. So very, very difficult for her. But I think this is just a great first step.
Well, thank you. And that's what I wanted it to be. I made it small, like almost like it was going to be in your back pocket. You're going to pull it out and, pick one thing and do it well, do it consistently, and then add the next thing. But don't try to do it all at once. That's where overwhelm and the stopping the forward momentum. And if you've invested all that time and energy to publish your book, it deserves to have a nice long shelf life.
Oh, see, and you just drop that little name of the book right in there. So where can people find you, Debbie?
The best place is my website. So DeborahKevin.com. The book is on there. A whole lot of other things are on there. There's a link, I think, even to Highlander Press. And we have a bookshop on Highlander Press that actually supports independent bookstore here in Baltimore, Snug Books, woman-owned bookstore. Woo-hoo.
I didn't know it was woman-owned.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And I do that. I chose that very deliberately because we could go to Amazon. Amazon is easy, but actually shopping on bookshop.org is equally easy, and it supports independent bookstores everywhere. And anybody can have their own bookshop. You don't have to be an author.
I love it. And anything for storyteller? Do you want to talk about that really quick?
Yeah. Sure. So I also have a podcast that's available on iPodcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Amazon Music. It's called
Underachiever.
Well, it goes to all of them. I put it on one platform and it does it all. And it is, I talk with women because I strongly feel that all women have important stories to share that can illuminate, heal, inspire. And I talk to women from all over the world in all walks of life doing all kinds of cool things. And their episodes are relatively short and they drop every Monday. And we just passed our 1-year anniversary. So it's really, it's a passion project because I'm a passionate collector of stories.
Oh, that's beautiful. Is that on your business card? Because
I don't even have business cards.
Great marketing. No, they do the business card now where you tap.
Yes, I do need to create. I did. I don't really go anywhere.
You're like, let me email you or text you. So
yes, I'll just, let's have a Zoom chat.
All right. Well, thank you, Debbie, so much for joining me. Congratulations on your book. I will be yelling from the hilltops to authors that this is what they need, right? Because you could see it. As a marketer, I can see the gaps, and I didn't really know how to fill them. Your book helps do that. Yeah, but I think it's a great tool, and thank you for bringing it to the world.
Well, thank you. And thank you for this opportunity to spend time with you.
Drinks next.
Drinks definitely next. And yes. And I've already made a note about author interviews.
All right. Oh, I have so many notes. Like, there were cards I didn't even get to, girl. Like, so many notes. That's why you're not jumping off after this. You're not jumping off. I get 5 more minutes.
Okay.
All right. Bye, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next time.